Hi, I'm Erin McCarthy, Editor-in-Chief of MentalFloss.com. Welcome to Mental Floss Video, and did you know that owls can't actually spin their heads 360 degrees in one direction? According to the International Owl Center, if an owl is looking straight in front, it can't turn its head 360 degrees and look straight ahead again. It's physically impossible. Owls are limited, with quotes, because this is pretty extreme, to turning their heads 270 degrees in one direction. And because they can turn 270 degrees to the right and left, they have a 540-degree range of motion, which makes the 140-degree human range of motion, a mere 70 degrees in either direction, seem pretty puny. Anyway, most experts are quick to point out that it's not accurate to say that owls can spin their heads 360 degrees because misconceptions can immediately arise. And that's just the first of many myths and misconceptions about animals that I'm going to share and debunk for you today. Giant pandas get a bad rap for disliking sex, but that's a bit of a misconception. The truth is that in their natural habitats, pandas don't have a problem with mating. In fact, a pair might even have sex more than 40 times in just a few hours. The main issue is breeding in captivity. Female pandas aren't getting as many choices as they'd like, and breeders tend to select mates for them based on genetic qualities rather than actual interest. Additionally, female pandas have an incredibly small window to get pregnant. Once a year, they're fertile for between 36 and 40 hours. Scientists have tried a number of things to assist captive pandas to get it on, including panda porn. Yep, that's true. Speaking of animals who pair off, penguins aren't monogamous despite popular belief. 85% of emperor penguins switch partners each breeding season. Around 71% of king penguins do the same, and according to a study of 19 Gentoo penguins, they act monogamous, but the DNA of their offspring reveals that they cheat on their partners, as do 1/3 of female Humboldt penguins. It's also not true that lobsters are monogamous, as the great Phoebe Buffay once suggested. But Ross and Rachel still are, and I won't debate that with any of you. A female lobster spends a couple of weeks with a given partner, but abandons him after that, and maybe even earlier if he can't fertilize all her eggs. And fun fact, lobsters pee out of their faces, which is part of their mating ritual. The female pees into the male's shelter in order to seduce him. Lobsters pee out of their faces. Say it at cocktail parties. It definitely won't make people turn and run in the other direction. It's a myth that an anteater will consume ants through its nose. Instead, they use their claws to rip open anthills, then use their long tongues to eat the insects. They don't even have teeth. They just swallow up to 20,000 insects whole every day. There are a couple of Tyrannosaurus rex misconceptions that Jurassic Park had a hand in perpetuating. The first is that they couldn't see very well. In fact, one researcher at the University of Oregon determined that T-Rex may have had better depth perception than present-day hawks and eagles. They also had a great sense of smell, so it wouldn't have been hard for one to notice a person standing nearby. The second misconception was that T-Rexes were surprisingly fast. Paleontologists did once believe that they could possibly run up to 33 miles per hour, but based on their structures, it's now thought that moving faster than 12 miles an hour would have caused bone damage. This wasn't very limiting because the T-Rex was mostly hunting down dinosaurs that were slower than that. But the moral of the story is, with a trusty Jeep, you could outrun one. Who knew Jurassic Park was so off base? What are you going to tell me next? That life doesn't find a way? It's not true that vultures stalk living animals that they know are about to die. In reality, they have excellent senses, which helps them find food, which in their case is typically already dead creatures. Turkey vultures have even been known to hang around leaking gas pipelines that contain chemicals that smell like decaying organic matter. Plus, vultures just know where animals tend to die, like places with limited rainfall, and they go there to find dead things. That is dark. It's a misconception that camels store water in their humps. The humps actually contain fat, which camels can use for energy. They hold the equivalent of 3 weeks' worth of food. The feature is also used for body temperature regulation. It's true that camels can spend long periods of time between drinks of water, though. That water gets stored and processed in their bloodstream, kidneys, and intestines. It's just an old wives' tale that touching a toad will give you warts. What may look to you like warts on a toad aren't even warts. They're glands that help keep predators away by emitting toxins. Human warts happen when a person comes into contact with one of the 100 human papillomavirus subtypes. You may have heard the idiom rare as hen's teeth, but according to a study published in 2006, hens can grow teeth. Around 70 to 80 million years ago, birds had chompers. They went away, but the genes are still there. So scientists can make adjustments and reintroduce the teeth, which are even found in similar places to where us mammals have them. Not all turkeys gobble. It's almost exclusively the males, or toms, that get their gobble on. A tom will gobble to attract a hen. They've been known to do it from trees to be heard far and wide. But hens make noises too, just usually not gobbles. They can yelp, cackle, and even whistle. Another turkey myth is that they can't fly. They're pretty much built to stay on the ground, but wild turkeys can take to the air. They just usually don't go further than 100 yards, but they can travel at 55 miles an hour. Domestic turkeys can't, though, because they're bred with larger breasts. If only they could. The White House Thanksgiving turkey pardoning would be way more exciting. Next, we have a couple of dog misconceptions. It's not true that only male dogs hump. Female dogs might hump other animals, humans, or even random objects. Dogs do this for a multitude of reasons, including to show dominance, because of excitement or stress, or just because they want attention. Experts say that spaying a female dog may lessen the behavior. A second dog misconception is that they see in black and white. This has been a belief since the 1920s, but dogs can see yellow and blue, which makes them colorblind in the same way that some humans are colorblind. Their eyes have 2 types of color receptors, or cones, as opposed to the 3 that the average person does. Speaking of beloved pets, cats can swim. The assumption that they can't is usually based on the fact that domesticated house cats don't like being in water. Experts believe that this aversion is probably because 1, they're used to staying away from natural elements, and 2, they prefer to have all of their feet on the ground. But pretty much every mammal, including cats, knows how to swim based on instinct. Apes seem to be the one exception to that rule. If you gently touch a butterfly's wing, it won't die or lose the ability to fly. Their wings have scales, and when you touch them, some scales might shed off, but that happens naturally as well. In fact, their sheddable scales might be what help them escape from spider webs. It's a myth that wolves howl at the moon. They do tend to howl at night, but that's because that's when they're active. And they look up while doing it because it helps the sound travel. Other wolves can hear them from 6 to 7 miles away, and that's why they howl, to communicate. There's even a specific sound a wolf will use when it has lost its pack. That's sad. While we're talking about wolf packs, it's kind of a misconception that there's an alpha wolf. Like the panda myth from earlier, this one probably formed based on how the animals act in captivity. When wolves are put together, there's more competition. In the wild, on the other hand, wolves tend to stick with their families. So the elder family members naturally have higher status. But that isn't too different from any animal family where the parent is the powerful member. It's a popular internet misconception that giraffes only get 30 minutes of sleep every day. According to one study of 7 captive giraffes, they spend about 4.5 hours asleep, which isn't unusual for animals that spend most of their active hours in the daylight. That study also found that giraffes typically laid down to sleep for less than 11 minutes at a time. Talk about a power nap. And finally, Virginia opossums don't hang by their tails. In fact, once they're fully grown, they literally can't hang for more than a couple of seconds because they're too heavy to use their tails for support. In general, their tails are used for balancing by holding onto tree branches during climbs. This isn't necessarily true for other species of opossums, though. At least one wraps its tail around a branch and hangs upside down to mate. Thanks for watching Mental Floss video, which is made with the help of all of these nice people. If you have a topic you'd like us to cover, leave it in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and give us a like if you enjoyed the video. We'll see you next time.